Okay, welcome, friends. So here we are for the springtime cleanse masterclass. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're entering into spring. And I am very, very excited to share with you some Ayurvedic insights on spring cleansing. And in this class, as promised, I told you we'll cover some self-assessment things that you can look at. So one is 11 signs. We're going to share more signs than that, but at least these foundational 11 signs that you have healthy digestion, that your Agni, as we call it in Ayurveda, is working optimally. So these are going to be the 11 things you need to look for. And then we're going to go over the 4 basic Ayurvedic gut types so that you can also self-reflect where you think you might be in this general typology. And we're going to talk about it in a simple way, and then I'll also show you the more complexity because obviously you can't be fit into a box, but we'll look at some of the basic categories of the Ayurvedic gut types. And it's helpful to understand what your gut type is, or at least have some ideas of what your gut type might be, so that if you're going to do cleansing practices, that you're doing something that's specific and personalized to yourself. We'll also cover 14 of the primary signs that it is time for you to do a cleanse. Now, really, any time of year that you're joining in this class, you can be needing a cleanse and you can also effectively do a cleanse. It just so happens that at the time of this class and this recording, if you're listening to the recording later on, it is springtime. So if we're all in this together in the same timeline, then we are entering into a season that is very optimal and supportive for the body to be cleansing itself. In fact, seasonal transitions really require that we do a gut reset or a cleanse for our whole body because each season brings with it its excesses. So over the winter, we get stagnation and building that happens in the winter. Our tissues hold more. And then just kind of like the mountains freeze and there's snow, depending on, of course, where you live in the world, but 4 season places, there's snow and there's accumulation. And then as the days get longer and the sun gets more intense, it starts melting those things out. And then the rivers start flowing with lots of water. And in the same way, in our body, the body is trying to release the excesses. And if you don't help it to do that, like if you put a dam in the river, the water is going to go all over the place and it's going to create problems in the body. What happens is we get excess mucus, we get really a hyperactive response to seasonal allergies. We get really bad allergies. Our immune system is compromised. We get more susceptible, more prone to catching bugs and getting sick and all kinds of things. We can't shed that extra weight, that weight gain that is normal and natural to happen in the winter, but that excess doesn't come off. It stays on and then it continues building. And then that creates complications over the summer, where summer's accumulations are heat in the body, acidity, inflammation. And so these things compound over years if we don't take the time to do a cleanse that's right for us. There's no one size fits all approach, but that's right for you, right for your gut type, right for your body type, right for your mental, emotional constitution, your psychological inclinations. All these things go together and they're important. So the shoulder seasons of spring and fall are usually when we typically do this because either the summertime is tapering down and we want to help the body release excess inflammation and heat, or the wintertime building accumulated stagnation is trying to release itself and melt away. And so we want to help the body do that. So that's why we talk about this, and you hear a lot of people talking about this at these times of year. So today's class, we're going to talk about, okay, really no matter what time of year you're listening to this class, there are still 14 kind of cardinal signs that it's time for you to do a cleanse. And we're going to list those out so that way you always have the understanding of like, oh, maybe it's time for me if all these things are stacking. But usually there are some early warning signs that's like, Okay, even proactively, even if I don't have a whole list of 14 things that I need to, that are showing me that I need to do a cleanse, even so, I should be proactive and practice, preventative healthcare and still try to embrace the support of the shoulder seasons, spring and fall, the transitionary seasons to, support my overall health and well-being. And then we'll sprinkled throughout today's class, I'm also going to give you lots of case studies from my own practice of Ayurveda. For the last over 12 years now, I've been practicing Ayurveda as my full-time practice, and I love it so much. I've been in healthcare, in fact, since 2004, 2004, I think. So I have been in the health and wellness industry for a really long time, but I've been practicing Ayurveda full time for over 12 years now. And I love working with women's health and all kinds of chronic illness. And basically, a lot of people come to me that are like, I've tried everything and nothing works. And what do I do? And those are just somehow are the main people that are attracted to my practice and that I love helping and that I love seeing and sharing their success stories. So, to illustrate some of our teaching points today, so that it's not just theory for you, I will share some of their stories so you can see what I mean. And some of those we're going to highlight are reversing chronic illness, how cleanses specifically can help you reverse chronic illness, reverse joint pain and joint disorders, autoimmune disease, and insomnia. And these are some of the main ones that I see repeating a lot in my practice, and that a lot of you write in to me via email that you're having these troubles and what do you do. So I'm going to share a few people's stories to illustrate our teaching points today and also to help inspire your hope and your vision and what's possible, and also seeing just how important cleansing is, but not just any old cleansing, the wisdom of the Ayurvedic method of cleansing, and also not even just standard Ayurveda. A lot of a lot of the way Ayurveda is taught in the online space today is quite misinterpreted and interpreted through an Indian bodied lens. And I've also had a lot of Western bodied people, American people, European people come to my practice because they're like, I've tried every Ayurvedic thing and it still hasn't worked for me. I've been eating mung soup or khichdi and doing those cleanses for years, and I'm still not be able to lose the weight. I'm still having insomnia. I'm still having these autoimmune markers. I'm still having this joint pain. I'm still having this, congestion, fill in the blank. So there's another refinement through my practice as I've been being mentored for the last several years with a less dogmatic approach to Ayurveda, something that is really effective. And so I want to share with you some of these clients' cases so that you can see, oh, wow, we're not talking about dogmatic Ayurveda here, all the things that you may have tried that haven't worked for you. There's an application of Ayurvedic cleansing that is transcends many of those dogmas that are also keeping people sick and stuck. So this is my approach. So I'll share that with you. So before we dive into today's content and the 11 signs of a healthy Agni, or all those things, I want to do a little bit of a guided visualization with you. So there are a couple people in the waiting room. Let me just let them in. Welcome, welcome. And so we're gonna start a guided visualization. Sorry, I have to remember to keep checking to let people in. Thank you for your patience. Also, everyone who's here live, you will get the recording, so don't worry if you miss anything or need to go back to take more notes or whatever. Um, Hi, Catalina. Hi, Gloria. Hi, Tamara. Welcome. Happy to see some of you hopping in. So, okay, a little bit of a guided visualization. Let's tune in with possibility. So just close your eyes for a moment if that feels good, or turn your gaze downward, a way that you feel a little bit more relaxed and inward. And take this little journey with me. So take in a couple deep breaths in through your nose, ideally, and then out through your mouth. And settling into your seat, settling into your feet. Good. And one more big deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth at your own pace. And imagine with me for a moment. Imagine your body feeling a buoyancy, light, and energy about it. Imagine when you first wake up in the morning that you feel your mind feels clear, your body has enthusiasm, you feel a positive anticipation for your day. Imagine feeling as you step out of bed, imagine feeling light in your body, centered, like connected to your center. Imagine feeling as you take those first steps throughout your day, your body feels strong, your joints feel fluid, lubricated, your weight is perfectly comfortable and balanced. There's essentially no thought about, oh, like stagnation, or you've dropped and melted away any stagnation, achiness, stiffness, lethargy, the any sense of overweight. You don't feel heavy, you just feel comfortable in your own skin. So imagine with me that feeling of comfortable in your own skin. Imagine as you approach your morning practices, you feel calm and centered. Imagine feeling it completely clear as you enter the kitchen. You feel open and enthusiastic about the things that you get to eat that day. You look forward to it. You know exactly what's going to work for your body that day. You feel like there's really not much mental bandwidth taken up by what to eat, what to drink, how to drink, etc. You just go through the motions while feeling connected to yourself, calm, at peace, and really connected in and tuned into the things that really matter to you. Imagine feeling a great sense of meaning in your life, feeling clear on your direction in your life. As you imagine as you're doing your bathing for the day, for the morning, for example, as you bathe yourself, you feel very comfortable in your own skin. You feel a sense of gratitude for your body, peace in your body, maybe even love for your body. And that comes naturally and effortlessly to you. As you slip your clothes on, you're like, yeah, I feel great. I look good. There's that feeling of like, oh, my clothes feel so good on me. My eyes are happy with what I'm seeing. Your skin looks clear. You look into your eyes in the mirror and your eyes have that glimmer and that zest for life back. Imagine with me for a moment that any of the ailments that you used to suffer from have just melted away. So if there's any hormonal imbalance or low libido or allergies or cravings or headaches or energy crashes, those kinds of things. Imagine what your day is like without those things, what becomes possible. See yourself dancing with those possibilities. See yourself in harmonious relationships where you're not feeling you are feeling like you have clear communication with the people around you. that there's respectful interactions, that there's not, triggers or discord in that way. You feel confident as you enter into your work, as you leave the house, doing whatever it is that you do in a given day. Whether you're home or leaving the home, you feel confident, clear, have a healthy amount of ambition, feel centered, connected to yourself and who you are. You feel like you have things, you're capable, you have things like under control more or less, things are organized in your life. There's no sense of like hopelessness or overwhelm or anxiety. All of that has melted from you and you feel connected and clear, able to make decisions with ease, able to take the next step and be present without the mind being all over the place. You're just present with what's right in front of you. So imagine with me for a moment. Take one more big, deep breath and just allowing yourself to totally play with the possibilities of what that could mean for you into your future. And when you're ready, bring the corners of your mouth up and take another deep breath and start to open your eyes. And this is actually an Ayurvedic tool using visualization of just allowing yourself to reconnect with possibility. It helps orient you towards a bigger vision. Sometimes, if we're not feeling those things that we described, or we're feeling, the list of symptoms and sufferings and pains, and we can our world can get limited to those. So give yourself permission. You don't have to totally believe it. You don't have to create an affirmative statement, that creates dissonance in your system. You literally just give yourself a moment to breathe deep and open to the possibility, even if you don't know in that the second you're doing it, what steps you need to take. You just say, I imagine this possibility. And so staying connected to your vision is like a North Star of your health and healing journey, and it keeps you oriented to what's important to you. So the things that we just went through in this visualization, even though some of them seem unrelated, they are actually all tie back in to a healthy digestive system. And I'll show you why right now. So here are the 11 signs of a healthy Agni. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see my notes. But Agni is the word we use in Ayurveda, which is a non-translatable, but a lot of people translate it to mean, hopefully you can see my screen here, this 11 signs of healthy Agni. Try not to go ahead. I'll explain each one a little bit. But Agni is a term that is associated with fire, but it can't be really translated directly to fire because it's a more specific fire. In the body, your Agni is responsible for digestion, absorption, assimilation of food and nutrients, but it's also responsible for the digestion and assimilation and processing of emotions, of all your past experiences, of everything that you take in through your five senses on any given day. So it's processing everything, energetic and subtle, as well as your gross physical food. So when your Agni is optimized, so when you go through the process of appropriate Ayurvedic cleansing for your unique gut type, for your unique body type, for your unique um, body, mind, constitution, and you optimize Agni for you, not only do you experience all the things that we just described in the visualization, but here are 11 immediate, specific signs that your Agni is doing well. So alertness is the first one. Alertness was what we said in the visualization. When you first start to wake up in the morning, first of all, you wake up without an alarm, usually before your alarm. Usually, naturally, when Agni is healthy, you're waking up before the sunrise, even just a few minutes before the sunrise. Even if you didn't have a great night's sleep, there's usually this spark inside of you that becomes alert, that becomes aware, becomes conscious a few minutes before sunrise. That's just the natural circadian rhythm of the body. Part of your natural circadian rhythm to have that mental alertness when you first wake up in the morning is having good sleep at night, which is why insomnia is such a big thing that people come because they're not waking up great in the morning because they are not having great sleep at night. So alertness is a sign that your Agni is healthy. And it is a sign that, and it is also inherent in it is saying, oh, this person with this healthy Agni is getting good sleep at night, and they're awaking with awareness, ease in the mind, and just a overall a sense of awareness and mental clarity. So those are the first two. When there's a general sense of cloudedness, like I can't see clearly, I have all these emotions, or I can't make a decision, or I don't have direction or meaning in my life. These are all signs that Agni is off, it's compromised. So mental clarity is a sign, hey, Agni is doing really well if you feel mentally clear. There's also this buoyancy of mood. So as I mentioned in the visualization, I feel a positive anticipation about my day when I wake up in the morning. That's a sign of healthy Agni. So, like a sunny disposition, you're rising with the sun and you have a general positive outlook on your day. This is a sign that your digestion is doing well. Isn't that interesting? There's no separation between physical body and emotional body, or the physical body and the mind. They are one. They are one in the same. They're together. So, first three signs of healthy Agni are all emphasizing, we're not talking about even anything to do with how you experience your gut or digestion yet. We're literally saying your mind is alert and clear, and I have a positive anticipation about my day coming up. So interesting. So interesting. So now we're finally getting into the fourth sign of healthy Agni. After you eat a meal, belly feels comfortable, comfortable belly. So when someone has a healthy Agni, they don't even think about it. They eat, they have energy, and they go on and do the next thing in their day. If you're like me and you've ever struggled with Agni or struggled with digestive discomfort, it becomes all consuming to your mind. You eat and now you feel heavy, lethargic, you could fall asleep, your belly gets bloated, you have acidity, any number of things. So a feeling of comfort in your belly after, especially after eating, are signs of healthy Agni. Some people who have hyperacidity, or what you'll learn later as Tikshna Agni, one of the Agni types, these people might have hard time going to sleep at night. They have to sleep propped up because there's so much acidity moving, and if they lay flat, all the acidity comes up. So it's not just after eating, but it's a comfortable belly, like all around the clock, a general sense of comfort in the belly, but especially after eating, there's just ease there. So your overall strength, vigor, stamina, and vitality is there. So one of the signs of healthy Agni is that your body feels strong. You have, vigor, vitality, you feel alive. It's a zest for life. You have good endurance, energy. You have no problem initiating, doing things in your life, regular activities of daily living. You usually are, the body wants to move in a healthy way, as a natural prompt from the body, not the mind trying to drag the body along because you think you should. But there's just that strength and vitality is naturally there. These are all signs of a healthy Agni, healthy digestion. The visual perception is also good. So there's not oversensitivity or dullness of the eyes. Generally, the eyes can see clearly. This is a sign of healthy Agni. And also, like I said in the visualization, you look in the mirror and there's a spark, there's a glimmer, there's um, a joy almost in the eyes, a life behind the eyes. The eyes don't look dull, and how you see the world doesn't feel dull. Good visual perception also means that you see a spark of life in your eyes, or other people reflect that to you. The way your skin even appears and feels is also a sign of healthy Agni, because when the Agni is backed up or compromised in some way, usually the excessive metabolic waste that builds up in the body, it comes out of the skin, creating skin problems. If there's excess inflammation, which we call pitta in Ayurveda, and that can't leave the body, it comes out of the skin in the forms of rashes or acne or red splotchy or spots, sometimes moving rashes. It can also come out as eczema, psoriasis in further advanced stages, but it all comes back to Agni. If your Agni is healthy, you'll feel satisfied with your meal. You won't, when you end your meal, you won't be craving something else or need something more, or still be thinking about food, or feel just unsatisfied. There's just a general contentment with the foods that you eat. You feel fueled, you feel comfortable, you feel like a lightness of energy, and you just go on about the next phase of your day for the next 4 to 6 hours. So that brings us to balanced appetite. So here's another sign of healthy Agni. There's no intense cravings. If there's intense cravings, it's always a sign that there's either a deficiency or an excess or an imbalance. So there can be um, a craving for, fatty fried foods. And that's usually when someone's vata is really high, or if they have a lot of ama in their system, which is undigested metabolic waste in their system that has backed up as a result of Agni being low, then they start to have intense cravings because the imbalance itself craves more things. So like sugar is one of those things, like croissants, baked goods, sweets, cupcakes, cookies, these kinds of things. It's just like, oh, I just can't get enough. It's like you eat one because you're out at a coworker's, a colleague's party, and now every day you're like, oh, I need a muffin. Like, oh, I need this cook these cookies. Intense cravings are always showing that there's an imbalance, and that imbalance can be one of excess or it can be of deficiency. So sometimes when people have intense cravings for fatty fried foods, it's not because they have a lot of ama, it's because their vata is very high and they're nutrient deficient. And so they start to crave heavy things. Usually, I get a lot of vata people that are like, I just crave really salty chips. And they're like, and it's actually just a craving for protein or deeper nutrients that they haven't had in a long time, trying to pacify itself through like a superficial means. So in order to really balance Agni, we have to also be able to feed the whole body deep nutrition, but the deep nutrition can usually only get there if the Agni's healthy. So many people find themselves in a catch-22. So then what do you do? Then you see a practitioner and they help you show you exactly what to do, because it can be a tricky situation. But just know that if you feel like balanced appetite without intense cravings, also I should say about that, I mentioned the cravings part, but appetite being balanced means, for the most part, I generally only have real hunger, every 4 to 6 hours. Most people aren't craving huge meals like every 2 hours or even needing to eat all the time. So if you're also really undernourished, you might be craving food more often. And sometimes if like with Tikshna Agni types, their blood sugar drops all the time, spikes and drops. So they feel ravenously hungry often, but they're actually not digesting the food fully, and it tends to go right through them, and then they have loose stools or something that's their system gets really bloated and aggravated, irritated, so they're not actually absorbing it, but they're hungry all the time. So this is another form of an imbalanced appetite, which is showing Agni is compromised. So in order to have um, to fit under this category of like one of the signs of healthy Agni is that your appetite is pretty consistent and it's balanced, meaning it's not too high and it's also not too low. Because sometimes people experience the opposite of that, where they're never hungry, like they're hardly ever hungry. But they're actually very depleted as a result, but they feel like food is just ugh, they feel ugh towards food. They don't want to eat. Nothing sounds good. Nothing appeals to them. This is a sign of Manda Agni that we'll talk about in a moment. Balanced bowel movements, we'll also talk about those in more detail. And then overall, again, sense of inner happiness and contentment, all coming back to that mood. So your mood, as you can see from this list, like half of the things are physical, and the other half of those things are mood related, your mind and your emotions. One of the signs of healthy Agni is that you have a general sense of contentment. That's like a word that scares people, but it's also a word that people aspire for. Because, like, if I'm content, am I going to just be bored and boring? No, it's actually just total satisfaction with simple things. And that is what brings about a genuine sense of happiness. So, the happiness that people are going after is not something out there based on external life conditions. It's actually an experience that you have internally when your Agni is healthy. Whoa. Pretty amazing, right? So there's your 11 signs of a healthy Agni. You can screenshot this if you want, if you know how to do that, or take a picture of it. Or hopefully you had plenty of time to write it down as I chatted. So then let's go into those 14 signs. I kind of started touching upon these, giving you the opposites as we talked about the healthy signs. But these are 14 signs that it's absolutely time you have an Ayurvedic cleanse. You need an Ayurvedic cleanse. If you have a sense of heaviness in your stomach, an aversion to food, poor appetite, if when you eat or any time of day really that you have like gas or burping that arises from your stomach, burping inherently there's nothing wrong with unless it's very excessive. It could be a sign of something imbalanced, but mainly it's a concern when it has the taste of food in it or the smell of food in it. And that's because you're not digesting all the way. Agni is compromised. So if you look in the mirror and you stick your tongue out and it has a white coating, absolutely a sign that the whole GI tract is backed up and needs to be cleansed and reset. Everything's backed up because your mouth is a part of your whole digestive system. And so it will show a coated tongue. You'll also experience bad breath, or someone else close to you will admit to you that you have really bad breath. That's always a sign that Agni is compromised and you must do an Ayurvedic cleanse to reset the system, or it's going to end up in more severe situations in your health later on. Or there's just like you sense a bad taste in your mouth. If your bowels are leaning towards, not just balanced, meaning if you're not having a full, complete bowel movement, at least the shape and size of a banana every morning without stimulation of laxatives in any way, and that's not happening every single day, that means you err on the side of a dry colon, it's leaning towards constipation, your system's getting backed up. Or if it swings to the other side of softer and liquefying and becoming diarrhea, that is also a sign that Agni is compromised and you need an Ayurvedic cleanse. So your nutrients are not getting into your body and it's going to cause a lot of depletion later on. So we're up to here now. So one of the next signs that it's time for your body to go through an Ayurvedic cleanse is the mental. So we kind of listed some of these physical signs here. And as we talked about everything leading up to this moment in class, there's it spills over into your mind and emotions. You feel a general sense of malaise, indecisiveness, foggy mind, confusion. These are all signs that Agni is compromised, that something is off, and you need an Ayurvedic cleanse, because when our physical body is full of excesses, undigested metabolic waste products, undigested food that has built up in the system, it's coming out of the skin, or it's going into your joints, or it's creating systemic inflammation, it's also going to your mind. Because remember, we said earlier, Agni is responsible for not only the digestion of absorption, assimilation of nutrients and food into the building blocks of tissues and energy, it's also responsible for your thinking power, your mind. It's digesting and assimilating all the information that comes in through your five senses. So the way that you perceive the world around you, everything you hear, taste, touch, smell, um, feel, is all also being digested through Agni. So if Agni is compromised, then you feel a sense of confusion, indecisiveness, foggy mind that spills over into a sense of frustration, which of course leads to unhappiness and discontent. You feel irritated for no reason. So another physical, which would also fall under what we call koshta, which is the body's channels of elimination. So if there's any kind of foul smell from the mouth or from the anus, it is a sign that Agni is compromised, that it is absolutely time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. And an Ayurvedic cleanse, we're going to talk about this in a little more detail as well, but it's not this whole big thing. You don't have to do it as this, it's not this whole major upheaval. It's like you need to know any given day of the month, if you notice these subtle signs of Agni being compromised, you need to know what to do to reset it right away. So you can do these shoulder seasons, right, that I was talking about. The spring and fall cleanse are like a minimum that every human needs to be engaging with. They need to know how to do an Ayurvedic, this wisdom-based cleanse for their body in spring or fall, or both ideally. And then you need to know any time of year how to just do a quick one. If you're like, oh my gosh, I ate something wrong, I was traveling, or I went to this party, or I had a few days where I was just eating off holidays, etc. And now all these things are fermenting in my gut. This is the cause of one of the causes of foul smelling gas or foul smelling bowel movements. There's something fermenting in the gut that is creating an incompatibility, which is not allowing energy and nutrients to get into your system. So that all just needs to be flushed out. And then you start putting the right things in the right combinations. And that's not the case. So then you start to feel the things that we described earlier. When Agni is healthy, you have a general sense of comfort, you have good visual perception, you have satisfaction with your meals, you have a general clear mind and a good outlook on life. So if you're finding yourself in a position that you're feeling clouded in all the ways, in your energy, in your lethargy, and in your mind, these are all signs that it's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. So bloating or abdominal distension are also signs digestion is compromised, and it's time I gotta do a cleanse. So any of these other things, these are all pretty self-explanatory, and I'm kind of going in circles now because they all kind of connect to each other, as you can see. But any type of like body weakness, fatigue, lethargy, it's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. Nausea, abdominal pain. Nausea could also just be an aversion to food, like food just sounds gross to you. Um, that's also poor appetite, but abdominal pain or headaches, these can also be a sign of excessive Tikshna Agni, out of balance. So it's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. Your overall, when you look in the mirror, your skin just looks dull, dry. The life has left your eyes. You just don't feel that vibrancy. Complexion looks dull. It's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. Or if you've been stuck in these emotional experiences for a long time. And it's not to say that, grief is going to take its own course. And that it's not to say that any emotions are bad or negative, but when you're not able to ever get reprieve from them, or they're carrying on for longer than you feel is actually part of their natural course, and you feel like it's just stagnating in your body, it's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. And now, an Ayurvedic cleanse, even though we're using this word cleanse, it's um, also referring to this very holistic approach to not just cleansing the body and meaning stripping away something out of it. It's also simultaneous rejuvenating. So it's inherent inside of Ayurvedic cleanses are taking away or pulling out of the system anything that has become toxic because it is undigested waste, metabolic waste in the system, but it's also putting in what's really nourishing and supportive and easy to digest. So we're not just talking about something that's depleting. I think it's important to know that this term cleanse can be misinterpreted, even though we're talking about spring cleansing. But I want you to understand what I mean by this word cleanse. It's not just a cleanse, it's not a depletion. Cleansing in Ayurveda, if it's an Ayurvedic cleanse, it should be something that's simultaneously rejuvenating. It's returning your energy back to you and giving your body this deep nutrients that it needs, which is part of the reason why all this energy comes back. So I hope this is making sense so far. I want to illustrate this with some some of my client cases. So before we do that, we just went through these two big lists. We did a visualization practice and we went through these two big lists, all the signs of healthy Agni, healthy digestive fire. And we also went through the signs that I need an Ayurvedic cleanse. If you said yes or maybe to even 2 or 3 of these, would you just say right in the chat, like, yep, that's me, or cleanse, or yes, or I can relate, or something, just so to make sure. I just want to kind of have a sense of who's all here. And I see, yep, yep, that's me. Okay. Yeah, I just want to have a sense of for some of you. And if you're watching this as a recording, I'd love to hear in the comments below, like, is this you? Yeah, okay. Thank you guys. Just want to make sure we're in the right place here. Yes. Okay. No, there's a no. Good, Gloria. This isn't landing for you, or this maybe you're seeing more of the signs of healthy Agni. Great. Thank you for your participation. So, so let me give you a few. I'm going to pause my screen share for anyone who wants more notes. You can screen grab this if you want, or hopefully you had plenty of time through my chatting to write these down. And then I'm going to share with you some of my. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Carolina. Yeah, this week, some of that's been going on for you too. All right. Yeah, so it's time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. We all need it at this time of year. So whether in the northern or southern hemisphere, we all need it at this time of year, if you're watching this live, of course. And then Any time of year, though, if you're feeling any of these 14 signs, it's usually time for an Ayurvedic cleanse. And really part of the goal in Ayurveda is to have a more refined understanding of the body and its needs so that you can sense it starting to go off quicker, sooner. And that way you can course correct without it going so far out of whack, so to speak. So a couple case studies that I wanted to share with you. I'm not putting pictures up or anything, just for everyone's confidentiality. Um, so Anna asks a great question before I go into the case study. Question, Alicia, even if you are feeling okay and good, um, is the 2 times a year cleansing still be beneficial? Yes. Yeah, because so it always depends on who we're talking to and where they live and what their life circumstances are. There are certainly contraindications to cleansing, but like I said, there's no one size fits all approach for anybody. So, and if it's an Ayurvedic cleanse done in this way, a very refined way without the dogmas of Ayurveda, like I said in our opening, Ayurvedic cleanses inherently are both cleansing and purifying while also being nutritive and restorative, and we call it rasayana, which are they build nutrients. So they should increase your nutrient density, nutrient intake in your body, and simultaneously help release anything that you don't need. So even if someone is in, a healthy flow, feeling pretty content, and they have, most of those signs of healthy digestion, they might not need to do a big cleanse, so to speak, but seasonally, there's still a change happening in the internal system that you can be proactive with and make sure you do like an infusion of nutrients in the shoulder seasons, which is going to help continue to optimize and prevent illness from the future. Unfortunately, most people, they like the concept of prevention, but they actually don't they actually wait until something's wrong before they take it seriously. So, what do they say? Like, yeah, prevention, you can't sell prevention. People don't want to buy prevention, meaning they're not looking for the Ayurveda when they're feeling great. But if they're wise and they have a genuine inclination towards learning about Ayurveda, they'll realize, oh, during these shoulder seasons, I still need to proactively support myself. Yeah. Gloria asked, unhappiness, is that in general, um, or during eating? No, we're talking in that list, we're talking about general, like a general sense of unhappiness, discontent in life. Oh, I'm so glad you're feeling better. Yeah, Gloria is someone that I have given a referral to in the past, and she says she's feeling, um, her guts feel a lot better. I'm very happy to hear that. Yes. Ayurveda is magical, but it's a science. You can decode it yourself, and that's what I'm trying to do here with these classes. Okay, so I had one client, we'll call her Joan. Sometimes I keep clients like to be kept anonymous, and sometimes I'll share some that like are happy to share their picture and their name and all of that. And then the people that wanted to be anonymous, I'll share their case studies under a different name. So this client, we'll call her Joan. She was experiencing a lot of joint pain. So this is a symptom that comes up a lot in the spring, because over the winter the stiffness really locks in, and then in the spring the cleansing can help support getting the lubrication back to the joints and stuff like that. So Joan was a fairly young grandmother. She was in her 50s, and she was starting to have so much stagnation in her joints, like early onset of like osteoarthritis, and just starting to get a lot of like stiffness and weakness in her body. Again, some of the signs that we talked about earlier. So she wasn't able to um, play down on the ground with her grandkids the way she wanted to. She wasn't able to like lift them up and like really play with them around. She really loved gardening, and it was painful for her to get down in the garden. So she was, trying to do different things, like get her son to build her like raised beds so that they weren't so close to the ground, but it was really stressing her out to have this stiffness. She would tell me when she woke up in the morning, she had such a stiffness in her body that she started to feel a sense of dread as she was waking up in the morning, like, ugh, I'm awake again. Here we go with another day. Like, it hurts to move, those types of things. So it would take her a long time. She would kind of try to get out of bed and try to do some joint exercises, try to take a hot shower, just do things that she could try to do, but it took her a long time to be able to get moving. Now, all of these are signs of long-standing gut imbalances that Ayurvedic gut resets and Ayurvedic cleansing can help reverse, because what happens is this these excesses build up in the system and they have nowhere to go. So depending on the person, they go into the different tissues. So for Joan, they were going into the joints and they were causing all this stiffness because the gut was compromised for so many decades, really, of her life. Ever since she had kids, her digestion had been off. So, and because her joints started getting really stiff, the other thing she would tell me was that she was starting to have compromised sleep. So her body was so uncomfortable. She couldn't really find a comfortable position to sleep and those types of things. So her sleep was becoming compromised. So she was waking up and feeling more lethargic in the morning, more stiff, all those kinds of things. So it was really challenging for her. Now, when she went through the Ayurvedic cleansing protocols, like I said, Ayurvedic cleansing and rejuvenation protocols, through this non-dogmatic approach, she was able to reverse and make space. So if you make space in the gut through the cleansing protocols, you nourish the joints, you nourish the tissues on a deep level through these Ayurvedic cleansing practices. And what it does is that stiffness that was backed up into the joints comes back into the central channel where the digestion and elimination can release it all out of the system. And then you put nutrients back in and it builds the strength again. So after she went through this process, and we did it slow over, she took the cleanse program where I do a personalized cleanse program over 6 weeks so that she could implement all the practices without, just to make it easy for her to implement. And then she continued working with me, just checking in over 6 months. And by after the rest of that season, all these beautiful changes happened. And she was able to get down with her grandkids again and get down and work in the garden again in a way. And she started waking up in the morning and just feeling like her body just wanted to move and it felt fluid. So the fluidity returned. And she was just like, all of a sudden one day we had a check-in and she was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't even thought about my sleep or dreaded waking up once in the last like several months. She's like, I hadn't even thought about it, because I like to check in with people after, several months of them doing the practice to make sure that it wasn't just an attempt at a quick fix. Like I'm really here to help people with long-term transformation changes that really stick. And so she's like, oh my gosh, it's been months. And she slowly started to be able to do things, but now all of a sudden she was in this renewed sense of joy and movement and comfort in her body, and then able to do all the two things that brought her the most joy, which was playing with her grandkids and helping out her kids to watch her grandkids and that kind of thing, and getting in the garden and being with the butterflies and the birds and the flowers, all her flowers. She loved gardening dahlias and flowers, and then of course veggies and stuff in her garden. And so she loved that. So this is just one kind of case study example for you to see, she was on this list of, oh, you're not looking at my screen anymore, but she was on this list of having several of these signs of needing the gut reset or an Ayurvedic cleanse. She went through that process. She dedicated herself to that process and was totally transformed in the process. So another client that I had was a male with lower back pain in his 30s. And so this is another kind of joint situation. And his was a little bit different because where hers was stagnation from accumulation in the digestive system, he had a different Agni type, which we're still going to review. He had a different Agni type, but his stiffness was also connected to a lot of emotions and also stagnation of the tissues, dryness of the tissues, not necessarily excesses. So not all quote unquote arthritis is created equal in Ayurveda. Even osteoarthritis can be from different things. So anyway, he was having severe low back pain. He's in his 30s. He was kind of in the prime of his career, and he was an entrepreneur, and he had like a desk job that he needed to like be sitting and a long time, but he couldn't sit in a chair. He was in so much pain all the time. He couldn't sleep well because he was in so much pain all the time. And so when he first called me, his name's John. When he first called me, he was like, I'm like at an all-time low with my income because I can't keep up with my work and I'm in so much pain and I can't drive a car. He lived in in LA. He couldn't drive a car and get around the city where he needed to go. And his anxiety was just rising, rising, rising. So I put him through a different kind of Ayurvedic cleanse than Joan because they had two different Agni types and two different body types, and they were at different stages of their life, etc. But I put John through an Ayurvedic protocol, and on the other side of that, he also needed practices of meditation and how to reduce stress and how to be centered and these kinds of things. He also found a correlation between certain emotions and his low back pain. So we worked through all these things that was not just nutrients and Agni, but the Agni around specifically the digestion of past emotions and those kinds of things. And so he went also to the other side of, feeling great. And then he was able to even get back to the gym. His low back pain went away. He was able to drive all around to where he needed to go. And he was like a very ambitious young man. So he was like, I'm making all this money. He was just very like his entrepreneur, aspect of himself was very motivated. So he was like, I'm able to, do all these different things now. And he started making all this money. So he called me to celebrate that. He's like, and it's all because of, it's all because of this Ayurveda stuff. And he wasn't even really someone who wanted to like learn Ayurveda or study Ayurveda. But he was able to get the results from it. And we were able to make those tweaks so that he could totally transform his life. So some of you are here for, as students to gather information and to study, and then some of you are here for the transformation. Like you need your life to make a shift and you need to feel better, like as soon as possible because you've been in a rut for too long or you've tried everything and it hasn't worked. So all of you are welcome here for that. And for those of you who are ready for the transformation, I will share just for a brief moment about my cleanse program. Um, but I will share with you the Ayurvedic Agni types first before we get to that. But I just want you to know that those case studies like light me up to be able to share with you real practice, like real experiences from my practice and to see how their lives have shifted is why I do what I do, why I've been doing what I've been doing since 2004 and practicing Ayurveda specifically since 2012, since 2011, over 12 years. So let's get into the Agni types. I'm going to show you this, and I hope everyone was okay that this was like over an hour class. But we're going to go into the Agni types briefly here, and then Yeah, mostly these classes end up being an hour and a half. So, um, here we are. Okay, so again, this can be screenshotted if you want your notes. But this is the four basic Agni types are Manda, Tikshna, Vishama, and what you won't see on this chart, which is called Sama Agni. So Sama Agni is basically this, everything is perfectly balanced. This list, 11 signs of healthy Agni, is the Sama Agni type. So I'm not going to talk about that because people with Sama Agni that are blessed with Sama Agni are not in this class with me. I'm sure about it. So really, these are the three other categories. And these are 6 signs associated with each of the types, okay? I know this is a lot of information all at once, but I am going to breeze through this. And mainly, if you are someone who's here for transformation of your health, then I'm going to invite you to book a personalized cleanse one-on-one program with me. And then I'm just going to help you figure out exactly what your Agni type is so that you don't have any questions about it. So this is just a brief overview just for your awareness, okay? And yes, there will be a replay, Michelle. Thank you, Anna, for replying. Yeah, I'll send the replay. So, and again, you can screenshot this chart so you have it as well. So the first type is Manda Agni. Manda in Ayurveda means slow or dull. I could put a little icon of a turtle here. Manda Agni people tend to have the lowest appetite. They're the kind of person that when you ask them, how's your appetite? They're like, how often do you eat throughout the day? They're like, oh, I wake up. I don't really think about food until I guess like 11 or 12. Like, they're kind of like, those are usually Manda Agni. They have no problem skipping meals. They have very stable blood sugar. In fact, they lean towards maybe insulin resistance. If they like a lot of sweets, they will have a hard time. They tend to crave sweets. But yeah, they can skip meals. They are the best candidate for intermittent fasting, which is really popular today, but that's because they have a very stable constitution. They're more associated with like a Kapha body type. So the Manda Agni type will be like, oh, I can even look at a croissant and gain weight, or I can even look at donuts and gain weight. I don't even have to eat them, right? They're the kind of person that just easily puts on weight, but it's a little bit harder for them to lose weight. When they do gain weight, it tends to gain evenly across their whole body. Their Koshta type, which is their elimination, is usually pretty balanced, meaning they don't really need external prompts. They just wake up in the morning, they have a bowel movement, they don't really think about it. It's pretty normal, but it doesn't mean that their Agni is, just because your bowel movements are consistent doesn't mean your Agni is optimized for yourself. But so they have a lower or slower metabolism in general. That's the Manda Agni type. So we're going down this first column right now, as you can probably see. And then when Manda Agni is really out of balance for a long time, this person may experience excessive mucus, head colds, seasonal allergies, brain fog, weight gain, although any of the types can experience brain fog or weight gain. But then in more advanced complications of Manda Agni being out of balance, this can also lead to tumors, growth, cysts, any kind of diseases of excess, such as high cholesterol, heart disease, even hypertension. So these are all associated with lower, slower metabolism and also a Kapha body type. Like I said, your health cannot be fit into a little box, and most people have combinations of these, which I'm going to share with you some more case studies to exemplify these types. But for the sake of learning and starting for you to start to self-assess and start to see yourself in these is a great educational starting point. Okay, Tikshna Agni type. If I was really savvy, I would have put a little fire icon in here, or like it's kind of like a rabbit or something, like something that's fast. It's like the tortoise and the hare is kind of like Manda Agni, Tikshna Agni, because Tikshna means sharp or fast. So Tikshna Agni types have high metabolism. Manda Agni types have low metabolism. High metabolism. This is the person that gets hangry if they don't eat. They are never going to skip a meal. In fact, they are going to pack snacks in their bag because wherever they go, because their blood sugar spikes and drops and they need to eat. And they crave protein and they crave, fats and things. They're the person in the gym that always has their protein shake next to them. So this is the Tikshna Agni type. They may have a hard time putting on weight, or they have well-developed muscles and it's hard for them to gain weight. And so they just have the faster metabolism. When they do gain weight, it will tend to accumulate more only like in their belly and abdomen. And then their koshta type tends to be mridu. It tends to be softer when they're really out of balance. If they have a lot of inflammation, then they may have more liquid or soft movements very often. So this can be very depleting Agni type. And when this Agni type is out of balance, it leads to hyperacidity, GERD, like acid reflux, inflammatory bowel diseases, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, and autoimmune diseases. So I had a client named, we'll call her Marla. She was a Tikshna Agni type, and she was anemic. She had very heavy periods. She lost a lot of her hair and a lot of anxiety, and she was positive for all the autoimmune markers, and she would get a lot of migraine headaches. So Marla fit pretty cleanly into this category as her predominant Agni type. And then post the Ayurvedic cleanse, though, her periods normalized, her hormones stabilized, her hair grew back thicker. She didn't have the headaches anymore, and she was able to be more calm. She was having better sleep, even though that wasn't one of her primary complaints. Her sleep was interrupted. She could fall asleep, but she had a hard time staying asleep if she was woken in the night. So she overall had a more calm disposition, and all of her autoimmune markers went away, reversed. She no longer, when she got her blood work done, there were no more autoimmune markers. So this is the glory of Ayurveda, the beauty of Ayurveda that really understands there's no one size fits all approach for cleansing and for Ayurvedic cleansing, but she was able to reverse all these things as a result. So this is Tikshna Agni. And then I have one more example of a Tikshna Agni. Since we're on the Tikshna Agni type, let me show you. I have to move this. Can you still see my screen? Do you see this, Tyler? Can you give me a thumbs up, or someone in the chat just say, I see this person on your screen? Okay. Yes, thank you, Tamara. Okay. I didn't know if I switched windows, if it would still show you. So this was another perfect case of Tikshna Agni, gut type. So this client of mine developed colitis, ulcerative colitis, and was told he needed to be on an $800 a month medication for the rest of his life. This was a pharmaceutical that was basically like a really strong anti-inflammatory, because his system was so inflamed. So colitis, inflammatory bowel disease, things like that, these are falling under Tikshna Agni types. And so within just that first 24 hours after our first consult for our Ayurvedic cleanse session, he said he felt 90% better. And then we continued to work together to make sure he had long lasting change. So this is what Tyler said. And this is just one like really beautiful success story I could share. Here are a couple others. I'll share those after we get through the notes. So well, we'll say the fourth type, because we already talked about Sama Agni. So the fourth Agni type is Vishama Agni. Now, if I could put a little icon in here, maybe I'll do that on the next class. I'll put little icons. This would be an icon of the wind because Vishama Agni means variable. It's constantly changing. It's associated with Vata, which is like the wind. So Vishama Agni type is so variable. They might have, if you heard yourself in both Tikshna and Manda, you may be variable, or you may be a combination. You might be a Tikshna Manda gut type, or you may be a Manda Tikshna gut type, or you may be a Vishama Tikshna gut type. So there are combinations of all of these, which we would do together confirm together in your Ayurvedic assessment if you choose to do a cleanse program with me. But Vishama Agni means variable. So these are the people that come to me and go, I don't know, it's all across the board. Sometimes I eat this and I feel great. And sometimes I eat that same thing on a different day and I feel horrible. Like some days I have bloating and some days I don't. And some days I have energy and some days I'm exhausted. And some days I feel this and some days I feel that. Sometimes I'm ravenously hungry. Sometimes I just feel a total aversion to food. These are Vishama Agni types. So if that sounds like you, your appetite's all over the place. Sometimes you forget about food. Sometimes you can't stop thinking. You're obsessive about food. Metabolism for Vishama Agni can sometimes be very fast or sometimes can be very slow. So Vishama Agni people with body weight can sometimes be really underweight. It all depends on the individual. They can sometimes be really underweight and they can sometimes also be overweight and hold on to excesses. So again, it's variable. Sometimes it's this situation, sometimes it's that. When they do gain weight, it may, as a Vata, more of a Vata predominant person, it may gather more in the hips and thighs. And then their Krura Koshta, their Koshta type is Krura Koshta, meaning they tend towards more dry stools, constipation, bloating, and food sensitivities than the others. One thing I didn't say about Tikshna Agni, when they also would tend towards food sensitivities, but they might have more food allergies, like significant food allergies, anaphylactic food allergies, or just inflammatory food allergies. Most of the people who have like a gluten intolerance, that type of thing, who get like some inflammation if they eat gluten and stuff, they tend to have some type of Tikshna Agni thing going on. Not always, but either Tikshna or Vishama usually. So that's the elimination type of Vishama Agni. And then when Vishama Agni person doesn't do their seasonal Ayurvedic cleanses and rejuvenation protocols and all of that, and it goes unbalanced for a really long time, it can lead to these later symptoms of degenerative diseases, osteoarthritis, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, dizziness, vertigo. And even if it's not called vertigo, you just have a general sense of like floatiness in your head and feeling disoriented. You may be a Vishama Agni type, but fear, anxiety, any kind of nervous system dysregulations, even Parkinson's, all these kinds of things, and insomnia, you're having trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, or your sleep is very light, like you just never totally feel like you drop into a deep sleep. These are all signs and associated with Vishama Agni. So if you have any questions on these, we're getting close to our time to wrap up. I want to please add your questions to the chat box. And if you're watching this as a recording, please type your comments or questions below this video and I'll still do my best to answer. Thank you for your share, Corey. I'm sure we can all relate to a lot of the things you're sharing. Um, and Radhika says, I was more Tikshna in my 30s and 40s, but now I'm more Vishama. Yeah, and that there can be a transition, especially as we age, everyone their vata in their system, or that wind and air in their system, increases, which means their digestion can become more like Vishama Agni as time goes on. Thank you for that reflection. So if you have any questions, type them in the chat. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go through a couple other quick stories to help illustrate the Agni types. So we have Emilio here in the center, and he was like a pretty classic, he was a Tikshna Manda combination type. So this is a picture he sent after he was feeling all better, and went out on a boat because he was like severely overweight and had it would be great to have like before and after pictures of people, but I didn't focus on that for many years of my career, and I'm only realizing now like how powerful case studies are for you guys to learn, and also just to inspire what's possible, right? To tie it into like real stories. So Emilio was like a pretty classic Tikshna Manda, meaning he had a really sharp digestion and a lot of hyperacidity, but his metabolism was actually very slow and sluggish. So he had a lot of ama built up in his system, and he had a lot of hyperacidity. And his physicians had given him uh, basically omeprazole, which is a kind of a very strong antacid that he took for many years just to prevent so much overproduction of acidity in his stomach, which was very, very painful for him. He couldn't lay down all the way, he couldn't sleep. But what that does over a long period of time is it suppresses Agni. So he wasn't able to digest his food properly, and therefore it built up a lot of ama, which is undigested metabolic waste over time. So he gained a bunch of weight and his metabolism was really sluggish. So we were able to effectively wean him off of all those drugs and basically rejuvenate his system, cleanse his system to the point where he says here, he felt like he was having another chance at life, even after just a couple sessions. And he was able to come off all those drugs and his weight balanced, etc. So he's just a classic example of like a Tikshna Manda combination type, which if you book a cleanse program with me, I can help you identify specifically what your type is. And then we will create a protocol and program for you, but one that is not just like me giving you a list of things, rigid things you need to do, but really working with you and the intuition inside of your own body, which is the healer, the Ayurveda that lives inside of your every cell, that lives inside of your body, is the part that heals you. So I just help to reintroduce you to that part so you can hear its guidance. And in the process, you will reverse and heal the situations that are ailing you. And then Mary, the woman on the right here, um, she had IBS, and she had a very classic Vishama Agni type. And so even just within the first 5 days of our initial Ayurvedic comprehensive evaluation, and then the initial program set into motion, after those first 5 days, she was having daily stomach pain and irritable bowel problems. So, and if you read her thing here, she was so excited, and she literally just came to me for Vishama Agni because she couldn't eat any of these things, and she had never been to Italy, and she really, really had this dream of going to Italy and being able to eat pizza and pasta and cheese, but she couldn't eat any of those things when she came to me. So, and the trip was not booked, but she was like a year later, she really wanted to go at this time that her sisters were going. But she's like, can't even imagine that this is possible. We're all trying to book this trip, but I feel so sick. So she came to me, and we worked together on that problem. I didn't even try to work with her on these medications that she had for diabetes, high cholesterol, fibromyalgia, and arthritis. I was not trying to work with her on that, but those are potential side effects of Vishama Agni gone out of balance. And because we did the Ayurvedic cleanse personalized to her needs, she was still able to come off of all those things and blood pressure medication too. And then her doctor started sending me all their clients because she was so shocked at how well Mary did. So she said, as a bonus, we also weren't working on her weight gain, but we literally were just working on her digestion, and all these other things happened. She said, "Oh, I also lost 35 pounds and I feel like a young 30-year-old again." And she was she was in her late 50s or early 60s when she had this experience. And then a year later, she was in Italy with her sisters having the time of and her mother, and they were having the time of their life eating pizza and pasta, and she just had such a great time. She sent me pictures from Italy, and she's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe I can eat and digest and feel so great. So Mary's a beautiful example of Vishama Agni. Um, we also had Sarah over here on the left. She was a Vishama Manda Agni, or she was having a lot of kapha issues in her gut with candida, etc. So we did a personalized Ayurvedic cleanse for her, so she was able to heal that. And then you can always go to this page and look at, we already gave this example. There's a bunch of other stories that you can look up on your own. But we'll call it there since we're at the top of our 90 minutes. And let me check the chat box. So like I said, some of you are students here collecting information about Ayurveda. And if that's you, I hope that this class was insightful for you. And then some of you are looking for transformation and need help and need healing. And oh, here, I'm going to stop sharing. Am I still sharing? Yeah. So, and then for those of you who are really needing transformation and healing, I'm just going to show you very briefly. I'm going to send you a link. And yeah, what does it look like? I just want to answer that question. Well, what does it look like to get your help? I need your help. Some of you might be saying that, and I don't want to leave you hanging if that's the case. So, oh yeah, Nusrat. I I can email since you're all already on this. You signed up for these classes, so I'll share the chart and the notes in with the recording. But you can also just simply, whoops, you can also simply not FaceTime, screenshot the notes here. I'll share it once more. So you can screenshot this if you want. The thing is with this is it's going to start to give you insights of the types, but it's not going to show you what to do. So the what to do specifically for your type is where the practitioner I would be doing you a disservice if I just here, let me zoom out so you can screenshot it. I would do you a disservice if I tried to just show you what to do, because I don't know if you're going to apply the information right, etc. But in the personalized Ayurvedic cleanse program, you get a full comprehensive evaluation from me. You and I will meet one-on-one for 90 minutes. You do some pre-homework, and I will prepare the program for you. And then I do a full Ayurvedic intake for you. So you get a health map for you. So we'll map out your Ayurvedic cleanse and rejuvenation program together. And you also will get a personalized consult with my mentor, who is a Vaidya, an Ayurvedic physician. And the main thing, I'm just putting the link to the cleanse. So if all of you can just open that link, and if you're watching this as a recording, it's below the video in the description. But if you open that link so that when we close out, you won't lose it. It's just a link to my calendar. There's no fancy, I'm not an online marketer. I'm not trying to sell you into a program. I'm literally a practitioner who cares about your education and empowerment. And I just want to make it available for you to meet with me if you need help. So, so the information and all the details of what you get in the cleanse program is there on the calendar link to book, but you get a whole comprehensive eval with me, one-on-one appointment, a one-on-one appointment with a Vaidya, my mentor. So you get 2 consultations. And then the main thing that is so powerful about this Ayurvedic cleanse program is that you get 6 weeks of implementation support. So you have me in your back pocket all the time as you implement this. I have all my clients on a little app. They can send me a voice memo. They can send me a text message to ask their questions and check in weekly if they want. They don't have to. Some people, they get the program and they just implement it and have no problem. Some people want a little bit more to, accountability support to touch base and have their questions answered and that kind of thing. And if that's you, then you have me in your pocket all the time on your phone. And we can check in weekly over those 6 weeks, or you just ask me a question whenever you have it, or we can tweak things to your program as you implement it if you need changes. And then there's 6 weeks of education. So you get your own login and access to my deeper programs that go through all the education around the gut types and personalization of the things that we talked about today. So the personalized cleanse program that I put the link there for you, I just set aside like 3 appointments a month. I try, and not every month I have space for them because it's a lot of work for me to put together a program for you. And I want to make sure I have plenty of time to touch base with everyone. And I also have a Ayurvedic practice on the running tangent to that, where I meet with my clients every week. So I'm the cleanse program, personalized cleanse program. I just have a few appointments each month. I opened up those appointments for April. And so April is a great time to be cleansing. So I just want to make this available for everyone who wants that personalized support, diving right into their own health. If you have questions about it, you can email me first at hello@alicialyndiaz.com. If you have any questions about the approach or anything like that about your situation, I'll put my email address in the chat box too. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and book an appointment on my calendar. Also, if there's not an appointment on my calendar that fits your time zone, great. You can email me and we'll find a different time. But yeah, basically appointment, you get a full comprehensive appointment with me, Ayurvedic counseling session with me, one with my Vaidya, so 2 one-on-one sessions, and then 6 weeks of support and education to implement everything and to get all your questions answered. So that's it. I found that's been a really, really wonderful way to get people started. If you want more support than that, there's options to stay with a one-on-one check-in with me every month. That's always an option for certain people who want to go deeper into other areas of support with Ayurveda, cleansing, rejuvenation, counseling. I do therapeutic counseling, emotional depth work, all alongside of these things, habit change, things that really support the psychology to stay in alignment with the changes you're trying to make. So, my dears, that's it. For those of you who aren't moving ahead with the one-on-one cleanse, I'm going to leave you with one step to take right here, right now, no matter what your gut type is, and no matter what your body type is. The main thing I want you to always remember, 2 things. Ready? Whether you're doing the personalized cleanse program with me or not, I want you to remember these 2 things, these actionable items to take away from today. One is hydrate, 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 hydrate. First thing when you wake up, drink some kind of warm or hot water. If you want a bonus and even help your system, add a squeeze of lime to that. That's pretty much okay across the board for any body type, any gut type. Lime is also antacid. Lemon is heating. Lime is more antacid. So drink a little bit of hot lime water first thing upon waking and make sure you drink enough water throughout the day. This is going to help your GI tract stay lubricated and releasing all of its enzymes, etc., to digest your food. And then second thing is an awareness practice. Do your best to sense and listen to your body and follow your natural cravings. There's when your natural cravings are asking for something that you question, where you're like, is this my natural craving or is this my imbalance? Like, am I, because I'm really craving a croissant right now, that type of thing. Try to redirect towards something. You kind of can't go wrong with produce. Redirect your craving towards more water or produce of some type, whether it's cooked or raw, vegetable, fruit, something that appeals to you in that way. But try to follow your natural cravings and support your natural cravings towards produce, fruits, veggies, those kinds of things, because those are also going to be hydrating to the system and give you some deeper nourishment. So just start there. And when you're ready for my help, you know how to find me. So you can email me hello@alicialyndiaz.com, and you can also use the booking link that I put in which I will send on email as well, and that I put in the chat or will be below this recording. Okay, friends, I don't see any more questions. So sending all my love and gratitude for all of you for joining in today. Thank you for making the time and for spending this time with me. So nice to see some of your faces too. And thank you all for being here. We'll say one closing prayer. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.